All right, another live stream. Portsmouth Arsenal FA Cup fourth round. Going to start here in about 15 minutes. Arsenal playing away at Portsmouth. Um, yeah, just a little break from all of the Prem games that have been played recently. It's a really busy period now that I think of it. Like from December, like mid December, all the way through like the end of January, maybe, right? It's just like 3 games a week. It's crazy. And I think it eventually slows down, and then we go back to like Champions League games, and the league and just general football schedule becomes so busy after that. Um, but yeah, thanks for joining me. I'm Ed on side, Arsenal streamer, Arsenal content creator, football content creator. I don't want to just say Arsenal, but I'm a big fan, as you can see in the background. Um, yeah, just hopping on here to talk a little bit about Arsenal and do this watch along. Um, what I'll do is probably go through a lineup for Arsenal. I'm not gonna worry too much about the Portsmouth lineup because I'm not necessarily excited about this FA Cup game. So you guys can go on the FA website or the Arsenal website or the Portsmouth website to see all the lineups and all that. But what I will do though is talk a little bit about some things from Arsenal's recent games. Now, I've been seething about this Liverpool game for a few days now. I thought, I would be able to just like sleep on it after the game and just be totally fine. And, maybe, uh, logic would prevail after such a bad performance. But it's just that I can't get over it. It's just such a bad performance that it really, to me, it says a lot about where this Arsenal team are. Now, the draw is not a huge deal. Arsenal fans will tell me, don't worry, listen, look at how many games we've won. I think it's like 15 out of 21 games. We've only lost 2 games in the Prem. We're undefeated in other competitions. And that's all well and good, but that's not what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about the fact that the performance, especially in the second half of that Liverpool game, was so incredibly bad that it makes me concerned about the results at the end of the season. I'm not worried about the results in individual games or in the short term. I'm talking about the final result of not trying, but actually winning a big trophy. And the reason why I'm more concerned about that, if we were looking at an Arsenal team that had won multiple trophies in the past few years, then yes, you can put a little bit more weight and rely more on more recent performances or outcomes. But the fact that Arsenal are without a big trophy in 21 years, 2004 was the last one. We're in 2026. That's 22 years now. Um, to me, I'm still basing things off of that 22-year history. My analysis, I'm looking at the context of that, right? I'm looking at things in context, not in isolation. In isolation, sure, you're playing Liverpool, big club, you get a draw, no big deal. That happens. That's totally fine. You didn't lose the game, so no need to panic, no need to stress out about it. I'm not necessarily panicked. I'm more so thinking back on the years of Arsenal playing entertaining, fun football under Wenger with players like Fabregas and Van Persie and all of these guys. Uh, g- Fantastic players, but didn't win anything. Went on a 9-year trophy drought. All of those players ended up leaving, and we just became progressively worse until finally Arsene Wenger left left his managerial duties, and we entered into this current project that we've been in for about 6 years now, right? Um, so my worry is that again, there are things that have been resolved in that project period of 6 years of making us really solid defensively, which was a complaint by Arsenal fans almost across the board historically. You know, you talk to Arsenal fans and they'll tell you about how different we look compared to the players that we had in sort of that late Wenger into the Unai Emery years with defenders like Socrates and Mustafi, Kolasinac, these kinds of guys, these kinds of players. All of those players that ended up coming to Arsenal in those years were, to me, they were a result of the prior years of neglect and not winning anything. Nobody wanted to come to Arsenal because we were not a team serious about winning. We did not have the mentality for it. When Mikel Arteta came to Arsenal, the main thing that he even outwardly and explicitly stated that he was trying to change was the mentality within the team, and I think implicitly the club, in general, from the ownership to the management staff to the players, right? So my worry with that Liverpool game is the level of terribleness was reminiscent of all of the things that we had supposedly worked out of our system. The ability to beat big teams, which we're doing now, right? We're beating big teams and we're beating them comprehensively. We're getting 4-1s against Spurs, even though we beat Spurs, we've beaten Spurs throughout our history. Still, uh, turning Spurs into a team that is not necessarily as dangerous to us as they used to be, right? Beating Chelsea, not too long ago we were losing 6-0 to Chelsea. Wenger's 1000th game was a complete embarrassment. 8-2 against Man United, the various city defeats, right? And it looks like we've worked all those out of our system. We've gotten big wins against some of these big teams, right? We've won some FA Cups. It's looked like there's some progression. We're, moving out of that era of playing good football and winning nothing. And we've exercised a lot of demons from that time. That second half Liverpool game was so terrible that all of those demons from those years that it looked like we had exercised came rushing back. That's what it felt like. If just looking at the body language of players, that's what it looked like to me. People used to make a big deal about Ozil's body language. These fans, like, who cares about body language when you're producing and you're playing in such an incredible way as Mesut Ozil was playing for Arsenal in a crap team for all intents and purposes. Not totally crap. No, I mean, he got an FA Cup with us. I don't know if he got a second FA Cup. I'm not sure. But a lot of weaknesses in that team. Kolasinac. I think we had Walcott still when Ozil was there. We did have Sanchez, who was incredible. Santi. But then we had players like Coquelin in midfield. You know what I'm saying? We had Bellerin at right back, who was just a pace merchant at the time until he got injured, and then even his pace went away. But beyond his pace, he had nothing. Right? Um, it felt like a return to those years when we were losing against Olympiacos, getting knocked out by Olympiacos at home. Right? it was the lack of desire. And again, it's about context. I'm looking at the context of the fact that you're playing at home, you're at almost full strength because all we were missing was Calafiore. Okay. We're on a good run of form. We're winning games. We've beaten some big teams that have been bogey teams for us. Newcastle away, huge one, right? Because they've scuppered cup runs for us. I think it was last year, right? The League Cup campaign, which they won. I think we were in the semis in that. Um, and then looking at the opposite side, oh, we are also playing at home. Looking at the opposite side, we had Liverpool, who are missing Salah because he's at AFCON. They were missing Isak through long term injury. They're missing Ekatike, also an injury. I don't know how long. And they've been in a bad run of form. I mean, they've been winning. I mean, they've been undefeated for 10 games, but not convincingly. They've drawn some games, but they're not competing against us for the league title. I think that's firmly at this point was out of their grasp. They didn't have much to play for, right? Other than pride. And what does Arne Slot do? He he puts Cody Gakpo up front, right? That's their striker, a guy who's a midfielder. They didn't have a recognizable striker. But even with the fact that they're playing away and they're hobbled, we couldn't get close to them in the second half. We couldn't get the ball into the maybe like up to 40 yards from their goal. And we were losing every duel, every second ball. They were pressing us and we were losing it. We couldn't complete a pass. Players were lashing out, committing fouls that really this would have been the opportunity for referees to screw us over. They screwed us over in previous seasons in the most dubious of ways, but they let a lot go in this game. The Saka high boot, I think he kicks Kirkez in the rib, and Kirkez just kind of like runs it off. He just rubs his rib and just continues. Trossard gets an early yellow, right? So he's always been a hothead, but um, he could have, and he was playing kind of close to the line most of the game. And I think there was another one that. Oh yeah, it was the what's his name, Frimpong. That one was not a penalty, but if the referees wanted to be unfair, then that's what they would have done. They would have given a penalty there. If this was previous seasons, right? This is something that you would expect, and that would have really thrown us off if we had lost this game, right? That's the difference to me, right? The fact that these Arsenal fans are not, they're telling you not to be concerned because we drew. But if we had lost, we could have very easily have lost. We gave away the same set piece that we gave away against Liverpool when we lost to them earlier in the season. Multiple times. I think there was 3 opportunities, free kicks from around the same area, the same distance, let's say. Sabazlai stepping up, of course, and he missed all 3. Luckily, they weren't like near misses per se. They were decent attempts. He didn't sky them or completely miss the goal, but they all went over the post. Raya didn't have to make a save from those attempts, and Raya was pretty much unbothered. We were lucky that Liverpool were so profligate. No, they weren't profligate because they didn't really get too many opportunities. I think another thing that Arsenal fans will say is, "Oh, look, we've kept Liverpool down to like no shots on goal. That's the first time that's happened in I don't know how long or whatever." Some stat. They always pull out some obscure stat in order to downplay the fact that we have been awful, right? We were awful in that half. The body language was off clearly because of how bad we were, but also in the context of this season, we have many times this season not looked convincing. Most of the time we have not looked convincing. So I don't know, like, how you're supposed to feel. Are you supposed to just be optimistic? This toxic positivity I cannot stand. You don't necessarily have to be overly negative, like some people who are have an agenda about Arteta and they want Arteta gone. But at the same time, constructive criticism is important. You know, I think some people just want to live in the fantasy of having already won it. At least they can enjoy it now. So when we don't win it, they can have at least enjoyed it while it lasted, right? I think that's what it is. People do the same thing on the opposite end where they doom and gloom until they've won it. Because if they don't win it, they can say, "Oh, I was right." So that's kind of where I think most Arsenal fans currently are in that toxic positivity side of things, where they don't want to admit the fact that we've been awful, that the league has been somewhat weak. Man City have not been the Man City of previous years, and we're not taking advantage. This is the context that we're playing in. That Man City do not look threatening, but we're not taking advantage. They're dropping points, they're giving it to us, and we don't want it. And that Liverpool game is the epitome of that. It's a concern I've had all season. And that Liverpool second half was the absolute epitome of it. So maybe I hope that I'm wrong. The other day I was so despondent about it that to myself, oh look, Portsmouth score a goal. There we go. So in the FA Cup, we concede, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to mentality. I don't care about this game. I don't care about the FA Cup game. I care about the mental headspace that this Arsenal team are in right now. I see a lot of mental weakness. How is it that we concede a goal to in the early stages to a team like Portsmouth? It's only 6 minutes in, and this just increases my concern about what's going on with this team. This is like come out of not it hasn't come out of the blue. I think for some people it's come out of the blue, and that's why they're hesitant to believe that there's any real impact here. Uh, my my belief is that you lose or you draw in one of these games, and you're going to end up drawing and losing more games. As much as winning engenders more winning, losing does the same. And when you're over here letting Portsmouth score at 4 minutes into the game, a team like Portsmouth, and these Arsenal fans prior to these games are always giving it big. I don't understand. We haven't won anything. We haven't won anything. So why? Where does this hubris come from? Yes, we have a strong defense and we have a great team, and I think we have a great manager. I think he's one of the best managers in the world. The way that he's been able to rebuild this team from where we were and change the culture of the club from where it was. You can look at other big clubs and see their decline and their struggle to get out of this rut that they're in. Look at Man United, for God's sake. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we have completed the project. You have to win a major trophy. And even the FA Cup is not going to cut it. The FA Cup would have cut it if you had won a league prior or you've had won a recent FA Cup, but it's been 6 years since our last FA Cup. For years, Arsenal were criticized for having a drought. It was like a 9 year drought, but people were criticizing Arsenal from the sixth year, right? If we go another season, this season at least, if we go beyond this season and have not won a trophy, then that criticism is going to come back. Then it's going to be that thing where it's like, you guys are in a drought. When are you guys going to beat this drought? Like with Tottenham, people counting the minutes, whatever it was, that website with the minutes, all of the minutes that Tottenham hadn't won anything. Right? Look at Arteta now. Arteta, we're at the 7th minute. They pan into Arteta's face, and you can see his frustration at these players. I think Arteta has the right mentality. Arsenal score. We don't know if it's a VAR issue off a set piece. Set piece. What are we doing? We can't just rely on set pieces, man. I know it is. I'm not saying it's not sustainable. Okay. I just don't think that set pieces alone are going to win you the league. That's my concern. You can get a set piece, but what it's not necessarily going to guarantee the win. It's not going to guarantee. It might guarantee you a draw. It'll guarantee you getting a goal, but you might still end up losing a game. I got to go back and look at the Aston Villa game that we lost because I think we had scored a set piece in that game too. Norgard scores it, set piece, right? So, yeah, man. I mean, I'm at the precipice of saying we're not going to win it this year. That's how despondent I am about that Liverpool match. It's not about the fact that we drew. It's fine. You can draw games. Teams draw. That's typical. That's normal. Man City are going to draw again. But when you have an opportunity to make this league championship yours, put it out of sight for anyone else who is thinking about competing for it, or even the teams that want to play you and have your scalp as a trophy. Have your league campaign be a trophy. The fact that they've been able to derail you. These smaller clubs, these Sunderlands and some of these dangerous smaller clubs. Brighton, it looks like they're finding some form, even though they've been awful this year. Newcastle, these types of teams. They want to say, they want to banter. They want to come and say, hey, look, we threw you off. We did something. We didn't win anything this year. We won the messing up Arsenal's league campaign. And winning that Liverpool match would have cemented that, right? But even still, let's say it was like a shootout. Let's say there's a few goals in it, and we still ended up losing, right? Or I mean, not losing. Sorry, we ended up still getting the same result, still drawing the match, right? It would still have sent a message. If the performance was there, teams would still be scared. But now teams are going to say, "Hey, we could get something. Could go to Arsenal, or when they come here, we can get something out of them because they're mentally weak." Even the Liverpool players thought that. If you go back and look at that game, you'll see early on in the game, I think Kirkez like it was a corner for Arsenal. Saka is walking up to the corner flag, and Kirkez sort of gives him like a shoulder nudge, right? Like a hard, right? And then Saka kind of laughs it off, right? But that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to instill some hesitancy, some fear, right? Get a small advantage. Again, this is a sport of very slim margins, and sometimes those little psychological effects can have an impact. Those little psychological games. And it looks like it worked. The physicality that they came with looks like it worked. So the challenge right now that I'm going to judge Arteta off of is, can he can he get us back on track mentally? Because I think we're a little bit shaky mentally now for some reason. It might have something to do with the lack of open play goals and lack of like, I mean, but again, if I were to look at it from one of these optimistic fans' views, which I think they may have a point, I think the best argument that they could make is it's a bit of exhaustion, right? It's known that I think Arsenal have like a very heavy training regiment. This is why we get a lot of injuries, right? Um, and it could just be exhaustion, right? Sometimes when you're exhausted, it's kind of hard to keep your energy up, regardless of how important a game may be. Mentality alone isn't going to get you there. It has to be managed well enough. Your energy has to be managed well enough so that you can put in an effort. So that to me, that may be. I hope that's the reason. I really hope that's the reason because I don't know what it is. Honestly, like I don't know. I can't say this is exactly why this Arsenal team is looking a bit mentally not there, not all the way there. On the other side, you could argue, hey, everybody's exhausted. I think Liverpool are still in the Champions League. I think they're in all of the same competitions as us. But at the same time, Liverpool are also not performing at the same high level as we are, right? Um, so maybe that's what it is. I am guessing that that's the reason why, and I'm hoping that's what it is. Because again, if we look at things in context, yes, in context, for the majority of the last 3 years, really, when you look at these players, they look like they all have the mentality that they want to play for the team and to perform for the team. And I don't see any kind of outbursts, except for, maybe Martinelli in that Liverpool game. Not like that though. Not any kind of like outbursts of sulking. Yeah, like I don't see too much sulking. So I like that, right? So in context, I don't think that there's like a weakness there, because it's been set for so many seasons. The Liverpool match was really looked like it was just kind of like a lack of desire, which could have maybe I misinterpreted maybe I misinterpreted the exhaustion to a lack of desire, right? So that could be it. I'm going to hope that's what it is, and I'm going to judge Arteta on how he manages their workload, because that seems to be clearly affecting them. Whether it's the reason behind the lack of performance, or the injuries, right? And I also am looking at how he's going to manage these players on like a psychological level, right? When you have players like Jokeres not scoring goals, clearly for a striker, when they're not doing their job, for any player who's not doing what their position is supposed to be, or the main function of their position, you would expect them to have a bit of, you know, sulking or uh, feeling down. That's what you would expect. That's just like normal human behavior, right? When you let yourself down, right? So I'm going to be looking at Jokeres, if Arteta is going to be playing him, even how he performs when Arteta plays him, uh, and some of these other players that, to me, they need to step it up. Eze needs to step it up. Odegaard, our captain. We need to talk about Odegaard, our captain. Odegaard, when he was absent, I was not worried or concerned, because he has been in a bad run of form for about 2 seasons now. His best season was the 22-23 season, where I think he hit like 15 goals, and he had like double assists also, like double figure assists. Um, Waneri, terrible pass. But with Odegaard, he's had a bad run of form. I'm just looking at Arteta right now, just like doing like this, like angry, right? Angry. I think he was talking to Waneri. The fact that Waneri put in such a bad pass, it's either he was talking to Waneri or Skelly, who missed the pass and the ball went out of touch, right? Skelly did put a little bit too much energy into that pass, but Skelly was also not there to receive it, right? So they're both 18 years old. It's something to work on. But back to Odegaard, we didn't really miss. I don't think we really missed Odegaard so much. A lot of times you miss things when they are not there. But for me, I was watching us. We played against Spurs, totally dominated Spurs, right? Yes, Tottenham Hotspur are not a very good team at all. Okay. But we smacked them 4-1, playing with Eze in a different system than we normally do with Odegaard. And I think currently Odegaard has become a hindrance to this team because of he's being shoehorned in because he's the captain, and the formation and the tactics are not conducive to us actually winning games. This like over control that comes from Odegaard, where he just holds the ball and just tries to dribble around players in the midfield and slows the game down. Um, Not helping us win these games, not helping us score open play goals. We have a striker who runs on the ball, makes runs, and then shoots. His main attributes that we were sold on was the fact that he makes runs and he has great finishing, right? But how do you do that when the ball is not played to him quick enough? Odegaard is not playing the ball quick enough and he's slowing games down. And to me, he's one of the main culprits where he's affecting our play, even like we're less of a good team when Odegaard is playing. We're less dangerous in attack. We may be more solid defensively, I guess, because he can keep possession. That's like defending with the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like this is yeah, we're like defensively solid, but it's like a tactic. We're defending while having the ball. Defending from an offensive like side of the game. And that's not making us dangerous. And it's something we've been doing for quite a while, long enough for opposition teams to maybe have figured out. And that's why we have to rely on set pieces so much. We can't really get close to the goal because Odegaard is dribbling the ball around in midfield, which to me, honestly, it's all well and good when you keep possession, but when you lose possession, when you're Odegaard and you lose possession there, Odegaard is not the one to get the ball back. He's way too weak. I watched him in that Liverpool game try to chase, first of all, lose the ball to a Liverpool defender or midfield. I don't even remember who it was. And the player was standing still and Odegaard couldn't catch him. Right? To me, that's like a sign of like physical weakness. Like you can't get enough tread on the grass in order to propel yourself forward fast enough, right? To catch a guy who's like almost standing still, not even running, right? The guy had all the time in the world to just kind of like take a look around, scan, see who's open, put his body in the way of the ball so that Odegaard would not be able to get it. And Odegaard can't do anything. He's just so frail that he can't do anything, which not a terrible like attribute to have for someone who's supposed to be a creative midfielder, but Odegaard is also not offering uh good passes or good midfield play beyond keeping possession of the ball. So as far as I'm concerned, like if we're talking about it like a meritocracy, this comes back down to this mentality thing with Arteta. There's another thing that I'm going to judge Arteta on. The reason why we've been able to assemble a team and a squad, first team and rotation players, with a certain mentality and a certain agreement. Wow, another set piece goal. Another set piece goal. This is what I'm saying. Yeah, it is sustainable. Looks like Martinelli gets his head on it. Set piece, ole. All right. Um. So yeah. So back to Odegaard. He's got like he's got this team that's all facing the same direction when it comes to what they want to achieve, how they want to achieve it, working for one another. I don't see any like selfish players per se, right? Everybody is just intense, right? Intensity, all that, right? Even Odegaard, right? Uh, the reason why you were able to put all of that together is because there was a really rigid meritocracy going on at Arsenal. We got rid of bad players and put good players in their position. Players that were not performing or were not keeping up with the level of progress that we were making had to go. Burn Leno had to go. In comes Ramsdale. Looks amazing, but has some weaknesses, namely a lack of concentration. He has to go. In comes Raya. A great improvement on Ramsdale, even though at the time everyone was wondering why. When you have Ramsdale being effectively the best goalkeeper that we've had in a long time, because we're basing it on past players, past goalkeepers, right? We brought in defenders like Pablo Mari, didn't work out. We bring in players like Mascara, let's say, right? Even though there was like another in between there, but we had like Tomiyasu, who was an upgrade on Bellerin. Injury prone, bring in Timber, upgrade. Okay, our various left backs, Kolasinac, right? uh, who do we have at left back? I don't even remember like other after Bellerin. We've had so many players get upgraded. Is my point, right? Some of these squad players get upgraded, right? Um, but it feels like in the midfield we haven't necessarily upgraded. Maybe Eze is an upgrade to Odegaard, but Eze is a different kind of attacking midfielder. He's not necessarily a creator even. He's not a possession player like Odegaard, and he's not a creator like Ozil or Fabregas, for example, right? Um, he's more of like a second striker. So even still, we're lacking a creative attacking midfielder, a player in a position that is doing the main function of that position and creating opportunities. That's what a center attacking midfielder does, a cam, right? But we also play with a single pivot, and that's what we've been doing for quite a while. We've been playing with two advanced eights, a right eight and a left eight. Rice has been incredible, right? To me, he's been an upgrade on Shaka. Um, Zubamendi has been very good. His availability, to me, it makes him neck and neck with Partey, even though Partey, I think, is a better midfielder in general. My point is, we have upgraded. Whenever there's an opportunity to upgrade, we've upgraded. Or whenever a particular player is not performing well, they don't get to continue playing without meeting competition in their position. And I think Odegaard has skated way too long, not being held up to the same standards as everyone else. We brought in Eze, of course, but I don't think bringing in Eze was necessarily because of Odegaard's performances. I think it's more so his availability. Ooh, what an attempt. Good shot by Martinelli. Like, all these players have to worry because there's another man ready to take over their spot, right? Another player that's there to improve on them. Martinelli's got Trossard on his heels. Saka has Madueke on his heels. Gabriel and Saliba, they've got Mascara, Hincapié, Calafiori, right? Ben White has already been replaced by Timber. Even though, Ben, again, another one. We're looking at it like, why would you? No, why? Who? Like, well, the Timber thing was like, okay, like this guy's highly scouted, and we know, he's like a great like potentially going to be a very good player, but we have a player right now that's doing great and can link up with Saka and Ben White. Timber comes in, a clear upgrade on White. So I'll give them credit for being right about a lot of things. A lot of things, especially when there are detractors saying things like they're making bad decisions. They're bringing in this player and that player, and a lot of times when that happens, the critics are incorrect. They're wrong. With Ramsdale, we were wrong. People used to make jokes even before Ramsdale came. How many Ramsdales does so and so cost? Because it was like 50 million for a goalkeeper, right? But people forgot about the price tag when Ramsdale was making all those insane saves. And then Raya comes in, everybody's like, why would you get Raya? We have Ramsdale. But then we learn, hey, this guy right here, he's great. He's a great goalkeeper. The best goalkeeper we've had since like the Invincibles era. Because even like that Fabregas team, that time had the worst goalkeeper. Dude, you know, like we had to suffer with some bad goalkeepers. And Raya has been both Ramsdale and Raya are the like two best that we've had since the Invincibles era. Like we had to deal with like Alamunia, who shouldn't have been anywhere near that team. You had so much talent in that team. It may have just been a little bit too young, but you had some incredible talent in that team. Van Persie, Fabregas, Sanya, Vermaelen, Koscielny, uh, Gibbs, I guess. I don't know. I don't know about Gibbs. Um, but then you had Alamunia at the back, and then Chesney. I guess Chesney. Yeah, right. Chesney was okay. He was good. Wasn't the best. He's had a very good career after Arsenal, going to Juventus and whatnot. I don't know where he is now. I think he might still be at Juventus. The Italian teams, they'll hold players until they're 50. But I say all that to say that we've upgraded and we've done it through a very ruthless meritocracy. Martinelli is still in the team because he puts in a lot of defensive work and he's a hard worker, hard runner, gives 100% every game. He has a right mentality. So it's hard for Arteta to be like, yo, you got to sit out. Last year, he was kind of neck and neck with Trossard. Trossard is the better finisher, better technical player, better footballer overall. Not as pacey, of course. But Martinelli stayed neck and neck with him. This year, I think it's clear that Trossard is the starter, right? Uh, but where is all this energy for Odegaard? Where is this ruthless meritocracy for Odegaard? We've seen Odegaard long enough. He had one good season. And we loaned this guy for 2 seasons. I think it was 2 seasons. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure some pedantic Arsenal fan is going to be like, "Oh, actually, it was came in the January window of 2019, and then we made it permanent at the end of the following season." Like, okay, this guy's been here long enough. That's my point. And I haven't really been impressed by him overall. I've seen one impressive season from this guy, and a couple average seasons and a couple below average seasons where he's not even available. Because to me, that's still you still get criticized for not being available. It may not be your fault that you're injured and how long you're out, but in a ruthless meritocracy, you have to be dropped if you're not available. If you've been out for a long time. So right now, Odegaard was out for a long time. He's been in and out also, ever since that Achilles injury that he got on international duty, he's been in and out. And it seems like whenever he's back, Arteta is going to immediately start this guy as our main midfielder. Right. I mean, he's got the captain's armband, but ruthless meritocracy. Shaka. Shaka did what he did, took his shirt off and, threw it down and, cussed at the fans and had that incident and was stripped of the captaincy. And then the captaincy was given to Odegaard based on that. Of course, it was left up to the teammates to decide who was going to be the captain. So these players are the ones that decided to choose Odegaard, right? And I think the logic was like Odegaard is Odegaard is like he leads by example. You can look at him and you can see he's somewhat of an introvert, and he plays the game. He puts in. I can't fault him for not putting in 100%. He doesn't sulk. He doesn't look to me like a selfish player with a massive ego that is toxic to the cohesion in the team. Like someone like Bruno Fernandes, for an example, right? Because it looked like Man United kind of had the same predicament, right? It was like Harry Maguire, and then Harry Maguire's like awful run got him stripped of the Man United captaincy, right? And then it went to Bruno Fernandes. And I want to say, I gotta ask my Man United friends, but I sort of remember it being also like a player-driven decision that Bruno Fernandes got to be the Man United captain, and now they're in a predicament where Bruno has to play every game. And that impacts the style of play, the mentality on the pitch. It impacts all kinds of things. You can't play a different style when you have a particular guy that you always have to put in. And not to get off the topic of Odegaard and Arsenal, but someone like Bruno is going to like affect you long term because you've decided to make him captain, and this is sort of like a political decision made and not so much a merit based decision. If you're like a player on the team and you're seeing Bruno sulking and being selfish with the ball and not tracking back and disrespecting his teammates, then you're clearly not going to want to play for the team. You're not going to want to put in a full effort for the team. And long run, there's lack of stability, bad outcomes, and it's a kind of domino effect. Uh, so this is my issue with Odegaard. I think we really need to upgrade on Odegaard. I think he's useful, but I don't think he's the captain of this team. I used to roll my eyes when like Arsenal fans would be like, "Oh, no, I don't see Odegaard as the captain because of his personality." I don't really think it's about his personality per se. There's something to be admired about someone who's quiet and goes about their business and leads by example. Penalty to Arsenal. Madueke pulled down by the Portsmouth player. They call him Pompey. I wonder what that comes from. Like why is that sort of their nickname? Pompey. The volcano city or the volcano, right? Is that the name of the volcano itself or is it the area where it happened? Someone educate me if anybody's actually watching this, right? What is Pompeii? I don't want to ask one of these AIs. I don't want to Google it, so Google sends me, you know what I mean, ask my question to their stupid AI that they're trying to force on everybody. So what is Pompeii? Is that the city or is that the name of the volcano that erupted? Right? Let me know. Let me know in the chat if you're on here. Like and subscribe. I'm Ed Onside. Streamer and Mattawake misses it. Oh, what a miss! Misses the goal. Come on, man. Oh, yo, the Portsmouth fans are having a fun time with that. What a terrible, what a terrible penalty to take, man. Good thing it's in this game, and we're already winning the game. This is the best time to have missed a penalty. It's letting you assess whether this guy should take penalties in the future without without it being like a huge problem. Like at least it's not a penalty in the Champions League where you let Nani Madueke step up and he misses it, right? It's in the FA Cup fourth round against Portsmouth and you're already winning 2-1, right? Um so where was I, man? Still ranting about Odegaard. Yeah, Arsenal fans will be like, "Oh, I don't like his personality." It's admirable that he puts his head down and works hard and all that, and I think that's appreciated by uh, his teammates. And to me, that does show leadership. I think we have plenty of leaders in this team, And he does show that sort of leadership quality. I appreciate that more so than somebody who's just vocal, who's criticizing other players and doesn't hold himself up to the same standard. I prefer someone who holds himself up to the same to a high standard, and you are, as a teammate of this person, or because yeah, it's a team, we're all equals, right? There is a feeling of equality there, right? There is no hierarchy per se, right? I appreciate that a lot, and I appreciate that Arsenal pick someone for those attributes. Having said all of that, there's a box that he's not ticking in order for him to hold that title of captain. This team has quite a few captains, I think. I think the mentality of the team is very strong, and there are certain players that should be captain ahead of Odegaard because they tick off the box of consistent performance, as well as the like playing hard, putting in a full energy performance every game, giving it their all. And to me, it would be Declan Rice for multiple reasons. Also, the fact that he's in midfield. I prefer captains that are in midfield because they're in between both the defense and offense, right? So they communicate, right? I think Odegaard has like another issue with communication on the pitch, at least from my vantage point, because he does seem to be somewhat of an introvert and doesn't necessarily is not as vocal. So to me, Rice is the logical captain for this team. He puts in a shift. He's always, more times than not, he's giving you an 8, if not a 10, right? Or a 9, right? He's giving you high marks every game. His energy increases as he plays. And he's vocal, and he's trying to organize players as the game progresses. He's a midfielder who carries the ball from the defense to the offense, scores goals, is always involved. All of these set piece goals that we're getting, a lot of them come by way of Rice's crosses, right? If not free kicks, like he did at Real Madrid. Um, so me, he's the logical choice. To me, he's the face of this current Arsenal that we have. Him and Gabriel. The only reason I wouldn't give it to Gabriel is because he's a defender and he's like way in the back. That's it. He's playing in a position where he's not necessarily going to be able to communicate with the forwards and organize them just based on distance. That's it. Right. So that's what I would do. It would be Rice captain, Gabriel vice captain, and then Saka as vice captain, right? Because he's the star man, right? He's the what they call. I didn't like it. They called him the franchise player. This sort of Americanized language, you know, talking about it like it's a franchise, or you know what I mean, like a brand. This corporate speak that then leaks into the fan lexicon where we start using corporate words and we start repeating phrases that these like clubs are putting out there. Or no, I mean, not even. It's just the corporate, the corporate people at the clubs. So yeah, the star boy, star man now, 24 years old. Saka signs. a new 5-year contract, according to reports, for making like 350K. He's like the highest paid player at the club now, which I think he deserves based on consistency and time and the fact that he's a youth product. Um, so yeah, I think Saka deserves it, right? I wish the other players on the team, in the attack, and midfielders like Odegaard could produce for him better, could finish some of the opportunities that he sets up. Going back to that Liverpool game, there's a huge indictment of Gyökeres. The ball is Saka is putting the ball where it needs to be, but the main man who's there in order to put it in the back of the net is nowhere to be found. He's somewhere outside of the goal of the 18-yard box wrestling with someone, you know, getting stuck in between a defender or something and not making the run or not reacting quick enough. So yeah, I mean, I understand back to Saka. I understand why Saka is um, the star man getting the big bucks. And segueing into this Jokeres thing, uh, I think at this stage I'm done with Jokeres. Even in this game against Pompey, Portsmouth, I'm doing it now. He's not starting the game. It's Jesus because to me that's like a decision. Arteta is likely trying to get him out of the line of fire, but at the same time, this is like the weakest competition that we're going to probably play for the rest of the season. And this is an opportunity for Jokeres to maybe gain a little bit of confidence against some defenders that are not as robust as he's going to encounter in the Prem or in the Champions League. So it looks like Arteta is not confident in Jokeres. Bad sign. Lack of confidence to me is, again, meritocracy. When that happens, he needs to be replaced. Doesn't matter that he just came in. Um, yeah, and a lot of Arsenal fans are talking like they're completely done with Jokeres. And I understand it because I've been patient with this guy. I didn't know anything about him. I know in the summer and in these transfer windows, there's a great tendency for fans to clamor for this player or for that player and trot out all kinds of statistics and hey, yeah, I watch the Portuguese league. I'm a big fan of the Portuguese league, right? So entertaining. I know everything about these teams, and I think Jokeres is the right fit and the right profile, and is going to bag a bunch of goals for us because the guy scored 50 goals playing for Sporting in a season or whatever it was, right? Um, and then you find out that he's less effective and less productive than these players that were not good enough to even make our squad, like Eddie and Ketia. So Arsenal fans are, I think, well and truly done with him. Even the ones that, from what I've heard at least, even the ones that were touting him as the best option for us. I can't sit here and say that I knew any better, right? Because there have been so many transfer windows in the past where I didn't see the quality of a player, but yet, they've shown it. I didn't see maybe the fact that a player is not good enough. I thought maybe they'd be decent, but that may have not been, turned out to be the case, or they've been, better than what I expected, like Madueke, who I thought was going to be completely awful just because he's coming from Chelsea. And not just because it's Chelsea, but more so because Chelsea have been not very good, right? And Madueke was, but he's been decent. Madueke's been decent. He's got some room to improve, but he's still young. I think he's like 22 or something, right? So he's young. He can develop. Um, but with Jokeres, to me, I looked at it like I always do with, or what I do now with these decisions, these transfer decisions at Arsenal, where I'm agnostic about it until I can get a look at this player playing for us and see that, yeah, we got something here. Okay, Urian Timber, didn't really know anything about him, right? I was pretty much agnostic. I was like, well, we have Ben White, so even if this guy doesn't bang, we still got Ben White. But turns out Timber might be the best right back since like back in the day, man, since the Invincibles era, also, right? Bakary Sanya, very good right back, always solid, but didn't do as much moving, like playing forward, but was always like a lockdown defender. He was available a lot. I don't really remember Sanya having any like long term injuries or injuries that hobbled him. That's also probably why he got that move to Man City. But yeah, probably yeah. We that like Timber's probably the best one since Sanya. Since then, we've had Bellerin and Debuchy and Carl Jenkinson. You know, we've had Partey play at right back. You know what I'm saying? Makeshift right backs. I think we had Mustafi play a little, like few games at right back. That didn't work. Um, so I'm agnostic when it comes to these transfers because I trust the current Arsenal setups player ID capabilities. So with Jokeres, ooh, like I'm struggling with Jokeres. I am struggling to eat my words. I mean, not eat my words because I never criticized the Jokeres thing. When people were saying, "Hey, no," one side was saying, they want Sesko. I think there were reports that Arteta wanted Sesko specifically, right? But he was overruled by Andre Berta, the new sporting director, right? He's the one that kind of pushed the Jokeres deal across the line, and it seemed like Jokeres had the right mentality. He wanted to be part of this team. He even came down on his wages, right? Because he wanted to be part. And when I watch Jokeres, I see that mentality. I think he's a good mental fit. There's a level of humility that he has that I think works with this Arsenal team, right? He looks like, and it always looks like he's putting in a shift. He's trying hard. I can't say he's not. I can't criticize him for that, right? On sort of a disposition and personality standpoint, I like him. But where it counts, disposition and personality don't matter in a results based competition because I don't care about the business so much unless it actually affects the game and the team, right? But when we're talking about slim margins and you're a striker, you're supposed to be putting up the numbers and you're not, it's done, man. It's done. From what I've seen from Jokeres, the basics are not there. he can't compete physically, which I'm surprised by. Like, how is this guy? What is he like? Might be like 6'2", but he's like big. You know what I mean? Like but he can't hold the ball up. I get you're not like technically Iniesta, but you can't hold the ball. You can't like hold defenders off. You're not quick enough to beat a center back. You know what I mean? You're not strong enough to push them off of you. When I see Gabriel Jesus do this, and he's like a shorter dude. He's like 5'9" or something. 5'9", probably weighs less. Better technique. Plays in a false nine system. Of course, it's that, but it's like I can't trust Jokeres to play as a false nine. His thing is supposed to be a pure striker. And when they brought him in, I was looking at it like even when he wasn't performing, even when he wasn't scoring goals, all he was getting was like scoring from the line, when the ball is just like bouncing around randomly and it deflects off of his thigh and goes in. My attitude was this guy provides us with a different dimension of play, and that is going to be difficult for opposition managers to plan for because you don't know whether Arteta is going to play Marino up front as a false nine, who's going to be winning aerial duels and scoring headers, right? And getting into the right spot to score kind of short distance goals, right? Like Fox in the box sort of thing, right? You don't know whether Gabriel Jesus is going to come on, who's going to trick your defenders and run around them, right? And hold the ball up and set it up for the wingers and uh, complete passes that break open your defense. You don't know whether that's going to happen or not, right? Or whether Jokeres is going to come in, right? Theoretically, is going to run behind your center backs and beat them and score, off of these pure striker goals, right? That was my way of making it make sense for why we got Jokeres. Whether he was going to be, I didn't expect for him to come and score how much he scored in the Portuguese league. It's a different league. It's a much harder. You're dealing with defenders that don't give you any time on the ball, right? So there was no way he was going to come in and put up numbers like in the Portuguese league. That's not typical for any striker, right? To just come in and just like take over. The only player that's done that is Holland. And not every player is Holland. Holland is a generational player, right? And that's not what I was looking for. I didn't want to, I wasn't expecting a generational player. What I was expecting is a competent player that can do the main function of their position. The same way I criticize Odegaard for not making good passes and slowing the game down and not opening up play for his teammates. That's the main function of his position. He's a central attacking midfielder. He's a cam. Even if we're playing him as a right eight, this is like a new sort of formation. Typically, it's a three midfield triangle with the cam at the top, facilitating for the strikers and the forwards. And Jokeres, he is a central forward, a striker, right? He's not a winger. He's not one of these makeshift strikers that can play false nine and all this. He's not a Havertz that's built to play in multiple ways and to adapt throughout the game and all that. He has one function. Ball goes in behind, he runs on it, shoots, scores. That's his job. He's not doing that. He's not offering anything else either. So it's almost like when we start games, we're playing without a striker. and we're not. It's like we're playing a man down. Not only are we not playing with this without a striker, because we've done that a lot. We've we've essentially been playing without a striker for 4 years now, right? We bring in Gabriel Jesus. Even he admits he's not a striker. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I don't think scoring goals is my primary skill set. My guy, you're brought in as a central forward. You're played in this position. This is what your job calls for, is to score goals. So that the fact that in your mind that this is not your primary focus or skill set makes me question, what are you doing here, right? Then you got a player like Havertz that's just like kind of willing to do, but Havertz didn't come in as a striker. We brought this guy in to be the replacement for Shaka. That didn't work. But Arteta, to his credit, once again, elevates these players, helps them like build, and makes them productive for this team, right? Same thing with Marino. Marino looks less. He looks less functional as a midfielder, which he is, than he does as our forward playing up top. Right now, he might actually be our most effective actual striker this year, player that's actually had to play up front. Okay, and he's not a striker; he's a midfielder. And Gyökeres may be in that same place where he's we're still trying to figure out what he can do for the team, but that's not acceptable because we're at a stage where that's not what we need. We don't need to get players and experiment and try to make them something that they had not already been or had not developed as, play in ways that they had not played before. Like we've to Arteta's credit, he has done this a lot with a lot of different players. He makes players good from just from coaching, not necessarily managing. He is a good coach. That's why he was Pep Guardiola's second at Man City. That's why right now he's top two managers in the league. Pep gets it because he's Pep. But then right behind him is Arteta. No question. I don't want to hear nonsense from some of these biased opposition fans. That's another thing maybe I'll talk about. But in the case of Gyökeres, we're at a win now situation. We're not here to develop you. That's why we got you at the ripe old age of 27 instead of going for a player like Sesko. Sesko, I think, is like 22, right? 22, something like that. Sesko is a project striker. He's raw. You can see it at Man United. Not necessarily productive. Scored a couple very good goals recently, you know? But a player that's clearly got a lot of the tools that can make him into a great striker, right? That's what Arteta wanted. He wanted a project, right? Trust the process. We wanted a trust the process striker, right? In Sesko. And that's what I was against, honestly, when in the summer. I didn't really have too many opinions about strikers, but I did have reservations about getting another project to work on because we're at a win now situation. And when they decided to choose, they had the option of these two, Sesko or Gyökeres, who both honestly haven't actually worked out for either team. I thought the Gyökeres deal made more sense. More seasoned player, played in the Prem. I think he was at Brighton, right? That didn't work for him. Played in the Championship, did well. Went to Portugal, lit up Portugal, right? So you're thinking this guy could actually come and contribute. He's not going to come in and just like rampage and do everything he wants, but he's going to contribute. And that's what we need. We need goals from everywhere. That's what we've been doing for the past few years. Everybody's scoring goals. We're scoring goals from the defense to the wide players to the, fullbacks. Everybody's scoring goals, right? Other than maybe David Raya. I don't know. I don't think he's scored a goal yet, right? um so he's not doing that. And then when we ask for a player to just contribute in general, Arsenal score again, Martinelli. Yeah, making just easy work out of Portsmouth. Really good play. I like it. You know, this is FA Cup playing very weak opposition. Maybe we can figure out a few things, right? Um, so back to my point, Jokeres not contributing anything. No, no passing, no setting up play. No physicality, right? Um, and I hope I'm wrong. The I hope it's the context of all the injuries we've had, all of the minutes that he's had to play. Um, I'm hoping it's just that he's had to play a lot and he's exhausted again. It's not about being not having desire. It's just about being depleted. You don't have enough energy. And I hope I'm wrong because so far, 8 out of 10 times, this management team and this transfer team have been correct. And they have held themselves up to this ruthless meritocracy as well, where we've had to kick out Edu. You know what I'm saying? Like, Edu, you making some funny style uh transfers, my guy. Tomiyasu was decent, but then the injury record is just woeful, incredibly bad. Okay, Zinchenko, all the guys that kind of like set up the fundamentals for this team. Jesus, I think he probably got some bad marks. I'm talking about Edu. I think he's gotten some bad marks for the fact that like Jesus was supposed to come in and start scoring goals and hasn't, even though Jesus does offer a lot, right? Um, so I'm hoping I'm wrong with Jokeres. I'm hoping that he gets some time off. We get Havertz back in. Jesus and Havertz contribute. Jokeres works on his game, starts to get minutes off the bench, and starts offering us a new dimension that really puts pressure on opposition teams. Against tired legs, if he can go in and really put in a shift against center backs that have had to fight the likes of Jesus and Hazard, Havertz, have had to play these guys. And I hope, maybe there's something to be said about this guy may be better in the Champions League than he is in the Prem. He's more of a Champions League striker because in the Champions League, you're playing these European teams that give you a lot more space to run into and give you more time on the ball that these Prem teams don't. Maybe that's the logic. He's supposed to be our Champions League guy, and we really haven't had to really struggle in the Champions League so far. So hopefully, man, I think there's plenty of time and minutes for this guy to get. And right now, it's best that he just sort of takes some time away, gets his head together, gets his body together. You know what I'm saying? And start muscling some of these defenders, dog. Like, what are you doing? Start muscling these defenders, man. Put this guy with a basketball coach and teach him how to box out. Okay? Because I've seen dudes that go hoop at playgrounds in pickup games that do a better job using their body to push other bigger players around, let alone a guy who's as big as Victor Jokeres. You know? Somebody needs to light a fire under his ass. Like, bro, why are you getting pushed around? Why is it every time the ball is in your vicinity, you're over here WrestleMania getting suplexed? Put a body on these dudes, man. Learn to use your center of gravity to push a player around, because a lot of these football players don't know that. They think that what they can do is just put hands on people and pull t-shirts, right? Pull t-shirts and pull arms. You don't need to do all that. You don't need to grab somebody by your hands and risk, getting a foul called on you, which I'm surprised that it doesn't happen more frequently, that referees don't call it. I get that it's done so much that referees would just be like, it's just happening too much, man. We just ignore it, because if we keep calling it, we're gonna give out so many cards, right? So let's just leave an element of this, okay, and just give warnings out for it or something. I don't know. It just happens so much, it's ridiculous, right? This hand pulling and shirt pulling, this sort of thing. I guarantee if some of these soccer football players learned some tactics from other sports, then they would be the better for it. Learn how to box out, man. That's one of the best skills to have. And I'm not even a soccer player like that. I wish I had started playing soccer as a younger guy, because I think I definitely had a natural skill for it when I did play it, right? It was almost it's almost in the blood. My father played semi-pro. I say that as like a question mark, because he used to play for a college team, and then I think he went semi-pro after that. But then that's kind of like where his like footballing career ended. But people tell me like back in the day, he was the best footballer around, right? Um, and that's kind of in me. I played football games, and I'm not, no formal training, no years playing football, but kind of already had it, right? Um, but basketball was my thing, right? I played basketball. Basketball was my thing. I'm an American, and I play basketball, right? And when I play basketball, the fundamentals when it comes to basketball is being able to use your body in a way that gives you an advantage uh, against competitors. Boxing out is like the most basic thing that you can learn before you're learning like shooting, like all of these things. Yeah, like when you're playing and it's fun. Of course you want to score bat. You want to shoot hoops and score and all that, right? But if you're trying to play seriously, being physical, you've got to first work on that. Is be physical, jump, box out, you know, stamina, that kind of thing, speed. Um, and when in recent years playing like 11-a-side football, I realized playing with guys that when I was overseas and whatnot, I would employ, because I was used to playing basketball, I would employ these tactics using my body, right? I don't got to chase these guys around, right? I got to chase them around. All I got to do is put my body in front of them. What is the striker going to do? He's not going to run around me if I got my body on him, right? There's no rule. There's a thing about uh, soccer, right? In basketball, there's like moving screens, like these rules where you can't screen while moving. Okay, because what you're doing is you're like impeding a player from running around you. That doesn't exist in soccer, right? I could put a body on a player all game. I just mark them. Doesn't matter if they're faster than me, right? Like a striker, right? Striker's trying to get close to goal, trying to make a run. Okay, play them close. As soon as they try to make a run, you just hold them back. You just use your low center of gravity and hold them back. You just you just put an arm on them like this. You ain't gotta grab them. You don't have to. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta grab them with your hands and try to pull them like some of these soccer players. Some of these defenders. I see some crazy stuff. Like, what are y'all doing? Pulling each other's arms, right? My guy, just learn how to use your body to block a player and force them to try to run around you, right? And you don't have to slide tackle them and risk getting a card or giving away a penalty. Put your body on them. That's all you got to do, right? Learn how to roll. You put your arm on them like this, okay? They try to roll beyond you, you roll back and hold them back. Keep them behind you like this. Box them out. I remember how frustrated some of these strikers used to be because, I'm not competent enough to be a striker. That's a difficult position to play to score and whatnot. But I'll play midfield and defense. I'll play center back or defensive mid because I'll stop a striker. I'll make them ineffective. You're gonna have to rely on someone else to get you goals, but that striker ain't gonna get you any goals because he's stuck back here with me. You know what I'm saying? The striker's back here with me. He's not going anywhere. You feel me? Uh, but yeah, man, I think it's because it's like a European sport. You know what I mean? I'm not to make any kind of suggest any kind of trope about Europeans or like the toughness of the sport. People used to make these jokes about like soccer players are like pussies and all this. Um, yeah, I'm not suggesting anything like that. It's just different tactics. You know, um, someone like a Jokeres could benefit from that kind of training because you don't necessarily need to be a defender either. If you know how to do this, it could really translate to football. The same way that being a football player really translates to something like basketball. I remember Kobe Bryant used to make the point about the fact that he had traveled and lived overseas. Rest in peace, Kobe. But I think he had lived in Italy. He used to play soccer, and he would credit the fact that his footwork was so good because he was a soccer player. And if you're a basketball player trying to make yourself really evasive, right? Really hard to deal with, make your footwork great, make your handles really good, play soccer. Your balance, play soccer, right? If you're trying to make yourself stronger against opponents, using your body correctly, increasing your stamina, play basketball. Granted, it's not good for your knees, man, because my knees are effed up after years of playing basketball. All that jumping up and down, oh man, it kills the knees, man. You get to an age in basketball where what you want to do is just shoot the ball. you don't want to you don't want to rebound. You don't want to go and jump up and come back down on your knees. It takes a toll, man. No wonder back in the day, guys like Patrick Ewing had all those crazy knee pads that they would wear, those knee braces. Because you need that. You need that support after some years, man. When all that cartilage is gone, oof. I've seen Shaq walk around. I'm like, dang, man, your knees must be effed up. I've seen guys like I saw Manute Bol in person. R.I.P. Manute Bol. But if you don't know Manute Bol, he's I believe he's the tallest player to ever play in the NBA. Right, South Sudanese basketball player. Used to play for the Washington Bullets before they became the Wizards. Before they decided to there was like a negative association between Washington and crime, and then the team's called the Bullets. Like that's crazy. You guys have a lot of violent crime, and your team is called the Bullets. Like that's crazy. But Manu Bol, man, this guy, his knees look bad. He used to walk all kinds of messed up because this guy was tall. He was a tree. This guy was a tree. You know, I saw him in the middle of a crowd of people once, and I thought that he was standing on a chair. I thought he was standing on a chair. He's just like looking down, just like shaking hands, right? He's saying hello to everybody. And then this crowd of people he's in the middle of kind of like separates. He comes out walking flat footed on the grass. I was like, dang. He looked like a tree. He looked like one of those trees from Lord of the Rings, those trees, he got them high shoulders and he walks like this, but his arms are like all the way down his knees. But the guy's like 7'5" or something crazy, right? But yeah, I digress. Learning different sports is actually I think is very good and try to apply like different skills. I think they said something about the I think Arsenal did this thing where they brought in like a former either former or current rugby player to talk to the Arsenal players. That's decent, you know. Oh, what a foul, Ben White. Come on, buddy. Benjamin White. He doesn't like to be called Ben. Or you know what I mean? Ben White. He's Benjamin. I remember early on, he had said that. He was like, yeah, don't call me Benjamin. Don't call me Ben. Call me Benjamin. Right? Which I'm going to respect. Because I respect Ben White. I like him a lot. Another one of these guys got the right attitude, man. He don't even his people his like family don't even like football. Like he said it in interviews like yeah, like my my parents didn't like football. They were actively like not fans of it, right? But the guy's become like an incredible player, man. I wonder if he's going to go. I wonder how many of these Arsenal players are actually going to end up leaving or if they're going to want to stay. And I'm not talking about the ones, the star players per se. I'm talking about some of these guys who've been relegated to the bench. Guys like Jesus. Jesus now is looking at trying to make the Brazil team. That's hard to do when you are consistently on the bench, but it's also hard to do when you're consistently injured, right? So, is he going to want to leave Arsenal in the summer? Because I think Jesus is now like 28 or something, right? He's kind of like he's in the area of his final big contract. You got Trossard, who's 31. I think he's definitely going to go because his value has never been higher. Yeah, see, as I spoke about this like pulling, shirt pulling and stuff, this Portsmouth player just tries to rip the shirt off of Timber, right? You don't have to do all that, my guy. Just use your weight and your center of gravity to push players around, especially when the ball's in the air. Okay, box out, push the guy out the way. You know what I mean? Get lower, do some squats. Get them glutes up. So now we got Odegaard back in the game. It looks like I want to say is Eze still because I don't think Odegaard started this match. So we got Havertz is in. Okay, Havertz to Madueke. Okay, deflected goes out. That's good. I want to see what happens with some of these guys. Let's see. Madueke, good run. Deflected. Hits the side netting. Corner for Arsenal. Madueke has been having a decent few attempts at corners and set pieces. Wow, look at Havertz, man. Looking swole. Swole Havertz. Big man. Let's do something, man. I hope something. Ooh, what another set piece. Martinelli again. Wow. Martinelli again. What a set piece. That's a great whip in. That's what I'm talking about. It's yes, connecting with the ball, very good lately, right? Guys like Gabriel, guys that, specialists. You know what I mean? These center backs that are putting in, especially Gabriel, right? But the whip on the ball is beautiful. That Madueke cross, incredible. That ball would have gone in regardless. He whipped it in so good, it would have just gone in on its own. It just so happened to like bounce off of Martinelli. It was going to either go in or some other player was going to have a free shot at goal because Madueke placed it so well. Yeah, the set piece thing, I think is sustainable. I don't know how they've made it. I wonder like why other teams are not able to produce this many numbers, produce these kinds of numbers off of set pieces, off of corners specifically, as much as Arsenal are, and how Arsenal has become so consistent. There's like a set piece coach, but it's like, what exactly does a set piece coach do that's different than maybe some of these other teams' set piece coaches that aren't getting goals from corners? Like, what exactly is it? It's a stats based game now. That like these managers and these teams are they're basing like their decisions, their tactical, their like transfer decisions on stats, their personnel decisions on statistics. But um like what sort of stats are they like looking at are they looking at set piece stats for these players that they're bringing in? And this is the difference. It's just them like looking at the numbers and being like, okay, well, we're just going to get a player that has this stat. This is a stat that indicates that this guy is going to be productive on set pieces. Right? Is that it? Is that the difference? I don't know, man. There's got to be something to it. It's like when I see managers yelling at their players or talking to their players before they come on. I see this is like Pep Guardiola. Like, what could they possibly be saying to these players? Right? Like, what is it that they could be saying that is any different that could make these players be more productive, I guess? Right? What are they saying? What is it that a man? I guess yeah, I get it. I get it. Like players on the pitch may not see the game from like a bird's eye view, so they don't know where what the other team is doing tactically, right? Whether they've shifted one player to a particular side, whether they're like pressing high on one phase of play or not. Yeah, I'm sure. It's very slim margins. So yeah, they're looking at every little detail, obviously, at the professional level. Us fans, we like to philosophize and theorize and talk about abstracts when these guys are actually working with like hard data, right? That's been collected across the footballing world, across the league, and across these individual players' careers from when they're academy players, from however old they started, to where the stats are pretty indicative of the output, right? But having said all of that, why is it that other teams are not as productive on the set piece part of things? Because to me, set pieces are like low percentage. They're like almost lucky goals, right? So, what did you do to make your luck incredible? You know what I'm saying? Why is your luck so good on set pieces? I don't know. I have no idea. These set piece coaches, what do they do? They even said that Arsenal just brought out a they just hired a long ball a long ball coach. I didn't know you needed that. You know, what could you do in like when you're throwing the ball in that's different that could make you more productive? You could get more output off of like throwing the ball into the box. What can you do different than throw the ball in the box if you're strong enough, right? So what could a someone who's specialized in this, like what is it that they're so like different in? You know what I'm saying? What are they gonna tell the players? Yeah, just take the ball, okay? Take the ball, and I want you to throw it and throw it in the box. Okay, this is why they hired me to tell you to do this. So just take the ball and throw it. That's the job of the the ball throwing coach. You know, that's a good gig, man. Like, hire me, man. I'll listen. I'll tell them some stuff, right? I'll tell them whatever. I'll just bring up some stuff, man. I'll just make some stuff up as a coach, right? I'm gonna tell them like, yeah, I'm gonna show up one day with like a bag of feathers and be like, yeah, just put this under your pillow at night. Okay, that's gonna help you score goals tomorrow. Statistically speaking, you have a higher chance of scoring goals after you've slept with a feather under your pillow the night before, right? And I can get a job as uh, the superstition coach, you know? Or what you can do is like Mike Tyson used to say that Customato would hypnotize him, right? And I think he mentioned that it helped with his anxiety. Like he didn't really have fear and anxiety as a boxer. Like these things, these mental hurdles that can really be a disadvantage when you're boxing. And for like I think with like Mike Tyson, his personality type, he was like kind of like a traumatized like shy kid, right? So it's like hard, you know what I mean? Like it's being nervous in front of a crowd and all of that, right? Like trying to get over those hurdles so that your skill and physicality and just your level of how good you are in the sport can kind of speak for itself. Um, so I'm sure they do something like that. I'm sure they've got. That's why Arteta went and got that dog, and they named him Win. Win the dog. I don't know, man, because again, it looks ridiculous when you see it, and there's like a lot of criticism and people mocking it when it happened. But come on, man, like it may have had some kind of impact. Has some kind of impact when you get a guy who's played rugby come in and tell you some stuff that helps you out. And you know why I know this is true? Because I've seen, like, there's something to be said about guys who are accomplished as athletes, have won everything, right? And that they can maybe get another level out of players, professionals that are kind of like in the middle of their career, or they're, working their way to like finally winning, right? Guys that haven't necessarily gotten to that point. Um, I watched the Amazon docu series with Tom Brady, right? And Tom Brady, if you don't know, I want to say it is Portsmouth. That's so weird. I totally forgot about that. Oh, no, 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 no. Sorry, it's not Portsmouth. It's not Portsmouth. He bought into Birmingham City. That's what it was, right? I just the blue color kind of threw me off, right? The badge is not really similar, but blue, same color, same hue, same tone of blue. But Tom Brady buys into Birmingham City, and he's talking to the Birmingham City players, and he's like really kind of leveling with them as a guy from a completely different sport, right? But a guy who, in his sport, he is, in his sport, in his position, he's the greatest, right? He's the greatest, arguably. Some people, fans have their biases, but achievements are kind of like the end all be all of those conversations, right? So he's talking to them as a guy who's like, yo, you better listen up, because he didn't necessarily speak with that tone, but those players, you could tell, were understanding it in that sort of way. I need to listen to this guy because he's the best in his field, and what he says is valuable and most certainly is applicable to what I'm doing, even though I'm playing a different sport. And I don't remember exactly what he told them, but at the time, it was clearly something valuable. It was approaching. I think he was talking about coming into a team, and when you haven't achieved anything yet, and how you deal day to day, right? To just even embark on that journey in order to win. Oh my god, man. 84th minute of this game, and I just see the same ridiculous nonsense, right? Odegaard misplaced passes, gets the ball back, passes it to Havertz. Havertz tries to shoot on goal, bounces up, and then Eze comes down to Eze, but he doesn't connect. Like, come on, man. And this is not the first time. This is not the first time, man. Got to do better, man. Sorry, I just got thrown off because this is frustrates me when players fluff a chance like that. Anyway, corner for Arsenal, I think. Yeah, corner for. It's weird. Eze's taking it. All right, let's see what he can do. I think this is where they're trying to experiment. Yeah, that was a good cross. I'm surprised. I didn't know Eze was decent at crosses like that. But again, about Tom Brady, um, there's a lot of value to be earned, a lot of useful knowledge that comes from the greats of other sports, right? And talking to greats, right? And sort of like the mental aspect of the game, the mental preparedness, because in order to make it professionally is like very slim chances, right? In a lot of sports, maybe in soccer because it's like so widespread, there's so many opportunities. I remember traveling abroad, like I spent some time in Qatar, and I knew a guy who played for a Qatari soccer team. And he was like their second goalkeeper, right? And it was one of these Qatari like professional teams, but they're like nobody. You know what I mean? Like the best league in the Middle East right now is the Saudi league, right? And even they're like way below the level of like something like the Premier League or any of the European leagues as far as like quality and strength of team, right? So, um, what was I saying? Like in yeah, like the slim margins of becoming a professional footballer, uh, and then add to that the even smaller sliver of players that can make it to the top league or one of the top leagues. And then you slice it even thinner, and now the small number of players that can make it to being champions of that league, right? You have to be the best and then you have to win it, right? It's such a slim margin. And because the margins are that that tiny, you have to look for every advantage, and some of the stuff that is kind of intangible is also important. It's the psychological part of the game. It's doing stuff like getting a dog and naming him Win, right? uh, and it's like little games, little psychological games, keeping confidence up. Like it's an incredible thing to not only be a professional athlete at the highest level, but to manage a team and to make them a winning team and then to win with that team. And I think like Arteta now is at that stage. He's done the incredible. He's reached the upper echelon of where managers are, or where managers want to be. And now it's that final few steps to get to the top of the mountain. That mountain being winning, right? Winning a big trophy. So these tiny things, like you kind of have to be perfect in order to get there. That's how it felt. Like what was it, 2 seasons ago when we lost to Man City by like a 2 point margin? You know what I'm saying? And it came down to some of these some of these losses, some of these like lapses in concentration is kind of what it is against the Evertons and the Fulhams. You know, losing and drawing games that we really should have won, given what was at stake, and not doing it. Doing the big thing and not doing the little thing, right? Like you have to make sure that you do a lot of the little thing, and then you don't necessarily need to do all of the big thing. You could do some of the big thing, right? You could beat some of the big teams, right? You can get some big wins. You can score some big goals against bigger teams. But it doesn't matter if you're drawing games and losing games to smaller teams and weaker teams, right? And not to take it all the way back to this Liverpool thing, because again, Liverpool, not I'm not concerned. If we were talking about, let's say, the Sunderland game, right? If we put it in the context of the fact that we conceded a late goal after being ahead in that Sunderland game, I think we ended that game like 2-2, right? Was it 2-2? But we conceded a very late goal due to lapse of concentration. Chelsea, same thing. A 10-man Chelsea team. Missing Caicedo for like a good 80 minutes of the game, right? Um, Due to lack of concentration, right? When you're winning the game, snatching a draw from the jaws of a win. The Liverpool game, not too concerned that we drew that game. I mean, it was 0-0. Nobody scored, right? We did have a good chance at the end. We could have actually won that. We wouldn't have deserved it though. It wouldn't have been, like, even if we had won that game, it would not relieve my concern for the rest of the season that we're not going to see another performance like that. That's what I'm worried about. Seeing another performance like that. It was such a bad game that, yeah, that kind of set off my alarm bells. Uh Game's almost done here. It's 4-1 Arsenal. Got one more minute on the clock. We're at the 92nd minute. It's been it's been a good talk. It's been gave me, there's something to do other than watch this game, because I don't think it's necessarily indicative of anything, right? We're playing very weak competition. Conceding an early goal is crazy to me. But on a positive side, really good goals that we've scored. The set pieces are looking good. I still see Odegaard doing what Odegaard does: dribbling, 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 waiting for the opposition team to get set before he decides to do anything, and then trying to just like tap in like a weak little pass. But you get players like Havertz in, getting some minutes, full time, game's over. So yeah, I mean, good performance from the team. Not gonna do a player ratings because, again, I don't see the value in that. You know, I think other, not all the time. I think, yeah, it's important. Let me rephrase. I think player ratings are important, just to kind of like assess and like set expectations for like next game, next performance. In this game, I don't think so much because of the competition. You know, it's the FA Cup, which is a big competition, um, but it's still the early stages, and the opponent was so weak that, let's say, it's like I wouldn't be able to give a high mark because of those things. Even if let's say we like battered this team like 10-0, right? That's what I would expect. A 10-0 win against Portsmouth is like everybody gets like an 8 out of 8, 8 out of 10, right? 4-1 against Portsmouth, sure, everybody gets a 7. It's not a huge gap in points. Just win it. You know what I mean? So fair enough. Decent game, decent stream. Please like and subscribe. Help me get to 10 subscribers. Can we do 10 subscribers? I know these guys have like goals, right? From some of these content creators that I enjoy watching. They always have these little scripted things that they say. We're on the road to I don't know this many subscribers and all that. Please help your boy out, man. Please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. I'm gonna stream the who else we planning to play? I don't know. Check me out, and I will see you guys soon. All right, peace.